أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's the 16th of November 2017. It's Thursday and it's a good morning, alhamdulillah. It marks also the 27th day of Safar 1438. My name is Zainab Bean and you are just in time for Community Pulse this morning. In this edition of Community Pulse, we start off with Dr. Faiez Kirsten joining me every Thursday at the same time. And this morning, inshallah, we look at the consciousness trifecta and that the discussion. You can be part of it if you give us a call or 02169917860 786 10 11 12. And then, of course, between 10 and 11, don't forget to catch the latest job offers. Also, your weekly update with the South African National Zakah Fund. Mishka Mohammed will be in your company, also taking your calls and also messages and requests, inshallah. The final hour, it's Thursday, so it's Pillar Thursday. And this morning, we will have quite an interesting discussion that you will hear about later, inshallah. That is after 11 o'clock. So all that and more, you're on radio 786 100.4 FM, also 1584 medium wave in Pretoria. Dr. Faiez, it's always a pleasure having you in studio. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Zainab, I'm very well, shukran, very well. How are you?
I am better than the last time we spoke.
I'm glad you're looking better too, yes.
Alhamdulillah. Now, we've been talking about a lot of things and we've been getting quite a response from the listeners, and it's always good when one realizes that the brain is still active and it's working. So in terms of, we've been talking about organizational culture over the last few weeks, but this morning we look at the consciousness trifecta. Tell us a bit more.
Yeah, I thought we'd also speak on autoimmune disease, but I wanted to just revisit the consciousness trifecta. And I think before I do that, I just want to say that this month I celebrate the 26th birthday of my motor car. I have a 26-year-old car, sure, which is also my biological age. I will tell you what my chronological age is. Anyway, coming back to the consciousness trifecta, which I said consists of the mind, body, and spirit, like if you recall. Now, what is our spirit? You know, our spirit is that part of us which connects us to the Creator, which we know. Okay, but it's also, so spiritual intelligence is knowing and being aware of the fact that you are connected to the Creator, and then living your life basically in harmony with the Creator's natural laws. That is being spiritually intelligent. Okay. Now we also have a mind part of the consciousness trifecta, which is your emotional mind and your intellectual mind. Okay, so you have IQ, which is your intellectual intelligence, and you have EQ, which is your emotional intelligence. Okay, and I won't really define that now. I'm sure people have an idea what those two are. And then you have your body. Now you have what we call holistic intelligence, which is spiritual intelligence, intellectual intelligence, and emotional intelligence. Okay, so that is holistic, or what I call total intelligence, so HQ or TQ. So the whole idea then is for us to try and develop our intelligence to an holistic level. Okay, that's the only way we're going to really solve the problems across the world. Humanity needs to raise its level of consciousness in terms of developing our consciousness trifecta, developing our intelligence. Why is this important? Now that's the question. Why do we have to do that? First of all, it's important because we're faced with all these problems, and the fundamental root cause, I think, of all these problems is the fact that most of us on the planet are not really, we don't have holistic intelligence. And also it's very important because most people are followers. They're following somebody, okay? They're following a leader, whether it's a political leader or a religious leader or whatever leader they're following. So it's important to know if your leader actually is holistically intelligent. If your leader is not holistically intelligent, then is most likely, probably 100% of the time, going to be a misleader. Okay, so he's going to be misleading you, which we see whether it's in the religious field, the education field, the political field. We really don't have true holistically intelligent leaders. We basically have, I think, a lot of misleaders. And this is why it's so important to understand the concept of holistic intelligence, especially if you're a follower. And also, obviously, just from your own personal perspective in terms of developing yourself, because that's really the key to improving the quality of your life and solving the problems that you face individually and as we face as a community globally, basically. So that's the point I wanted to make about the consciousness trifecta, is that it's really important to understand this idea of holistic intelligence and what the consciousness trifecta really actually encompasses. And I want to go, maybe can explain the difference between left brain dominance and right brain dominance. But maybe I'll leave it at that for the time being. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so what we are basically saying is that if we raise our level of consciousness, and also if we reach holistic intelligence, it would solve many of the issues we find ourselves in every day.
Yes, very important, because you'll find, as I said, that if you're partially intelligent, you're not holistically intelligent, which you will find Satanists and atheists are. They can only be partially intelligent because they have no connection to. They may have a soul, I'm sure they have a soul, but they're not aware of the fact that they're connected to the Creator, because they don't believe in a Creator. So how can you be connected to a Creator if you don't believe in the Creator? And also, if you find these globalists, they want to monopolize everything. In fact, they do monopolize everything. They own everything. So emotionally, they're also very unintelligent, because they're greedy. They want to own everything, including human beings, okay, which they do. They own the monetary supply. They own basically all the resources on the planet. So they're very greedy. So emotionally, they're also dishonest. The systems that they've created, the legal system is dishonest, actually anti-life. I mean, if you just take one simple part of the legal system, when it comes to animals, for example, animals, dogs and so forth, are not regarded as sentient beings from a legal perspective. Now, that boggles my mind, that the fact that you don't regard an animal as a sentient being. Now, it can only be a satanic mind that actually writes such a law, which says that animals are not sentient beings. Obviously, they are. If you look at a dog's brain, it has a highly developed emotional mind, emotional brain. Dog gets happy, you'll see a dog when it's happy. Dog gets sad, you'll see the sadness on its face. It gets angry, it barks a lot when it's angry, and so forth. So they have a whole range of emotions, like human beings have a range of emotions. They may not have the level of cognitive skills that we have, because their cognitive mind, that part of their brain is not well developed like ours, but they are sentient beings. But to write laws to say that animals are not sentient beings, I mean, you must be seriously deficient from a consciousness trifecta point of view to be able to write such a thing. So that's just one example of misleaders, basically people in leadership positions misleading us. And now we all believe that animals are not sentient beings. This is completely not true. So, sorry, what was your question again?
No, I was basically just trying to say that what we are saying then is that when we raise our level of consciousness and we reach the level of holistic intelligence, it would solve so many of the problems. But I was listening to Dr. now, and I'm thinking that we in fact had a conversation yesterday with Malana Sarfraz Hamza about the role of leaders, and how does one really hold them accountable for their actions, really. And it comes back to what you're saying with regards to leaders being misleading rather than leading. But what do we as an ordinary person do, or how do we not be part of a system that is a system that you have to be part of? There's no escape, really. What is our job?
Our job is to not consent. We are actually willingly consenting to what is happening to us. We're saying, no, it's fine. It's fine to steal my money through inflation, through taxation, through all these different mechanisms that they steal our money, which is basically, it is theft. But we consent to that. We say, no, it's fine. I once asked the person, why do we need government? And he said, how are we going to pay tax then? If we don't have a government. So it's about consenting. It's about understanding ourselves, understanding our consciousness. A lot of people don't really understand that the consciousness trifecta. But it's really who we are. We are mind, we are body, and we are spirit. And if we have to understand ourselves from those three perspectives and how they all interact. They're not separate. They're all one, basically.
Now we speak about how satanic or how people have become those who are maybe, some of those who are in authority, and the people that we should steer clear from. But how does one reach a point where you are so detached from just things that are human, and you are able to do things to people that are not normal, or that shouldn't be recognized as something right, and it still gets done? How do you become such a person without having a conscience?
Well, these people are left brain dominant. Okay, they basically they don't have holistic brain function, so they're left brain dominant. They're basically intellectuals. Oftentimes they're very highly intellectual, like scientists and atheists. Well, not necessarily atheists, but tyrants, autocratic people. They're left brain dominant, but they're not right brain. They don't have right brain thinking. They don't have compassion or creativity or intuition. And so they're basically defective. So they're not holistically intelligent. And they're operating really just from the one side of their brain. I've heard them being referred to as reptiles. And it could be true because you have the part of your brain called the reptilian brain, a very primitive part of your brain, the instinctive part of your brain. And maybe these people are operating purely from that and partially from their left brain, or from the left brain and their reptilian brain. And they have no right brain development. They're not compassionate. They don't have empathy. They're like psychopathic or psychopathetic, as they say.
But I'm sure that it takes a while before they actually reach a level where they like that. Because I think naturally, and how we were created, we are created to be good and to have that compassion. So how do you just become someone that doesn't have it?
We have that within us. They call it the fitra, the knowing that there's a God. But these people have basically ignored that. Using their free will, they've decided to ignore the fact that they basically are human beings that have been created by a creator. They have developed these beliefs. I don't know if they possessed, they possibly are. These bloodlines, they've come down thousands of years, and they basically now are living a life which is really not human. And they have no compassion. They will not hesitate to kill children. In fact, children are being sacrificed all the time. This pedophilia thing, child sacrifice. With the vaccines, people are saying vaccines is a child sacrifice type of situation that we're dealing with. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with serious evil here, and humanity needs to raise its level of consciousness, in order to basically at least resist it. Otherwise, we're really doomed, at least as far as our earthly existence is concerned.
But I suppose, as you mentioned, it's because of that disconnect with your creator that you can actually have or reach a level where you don't have compassion.
Yeah. These people, as I said, they're spiritually. You can say they're spiritual dancers. They spiritually lost. They're spiritually dead. They don't have that connection, because Allah says, whoever Allah leaves to go astray, nobody can guide. If they're left to go astray, then who can guide them? So basically, you can say they're spiritually lost, or they're spiritually dead, even basically, and they're dragging humanity along with them, basically, and you see that all around you.
It is Radio 786 100.4 FM, and in studio I have Dr. Faiez Kirsten speaking this morning about the consciousness trifecta, really looking at raising our level of consciousness, and I think it was a couple of years back where we had a theme for the month of Ramadan, or as we always have, where we really focused on reaching that spiritual consciousness, or just awakening that consciousness within people. And I think awakening being the word, because we all are supposed to be conscious, but it kind of almost deadens because of how we live and because of how we are disconnected, and so we need to awaken that type of consciousness again.
Yeah, look, it's part of this whole plan to take God out of the equation and to basically focus on yourself, your ego, ego worship.
And feed it.
Yeah, which we mentioned was the first pillar of Satanism. Satanism really is actually ego worship, thinking that there's nothing above you. You got to just basically do everything for yourself and your group, basically, if necessary. And that God consciousness basically is programmed out of us. It's being programmed out of us over many decades now. For a long time. And you'll see it around you. People are worshipping other stuff besides God.
The sad thing is that they don't even realize that they are.
Well, it's a subconscious programming. That's why they're not aware of it. But they live. If you look at it, if you're aware of it and you look around you, it's easy to see if you're aware of it. I see it all the time. And to me, it's no longer shocking. Like I said, it used to be years ago, but it's not shocking. I understand it, and I try to do something about it. But many people are not interested even to talk about it.
But how many times do we find ourselves in that moment where you realize that you are actually in something that you haven't realized that what it's been doing to you until you actually realize, is it something like that where you've just so part of the system or part of a certain cycle, and then by the time you realize that you are actually in this, then you're already in it.
It can be scary, actually. When I discovered what was going on in terms of mind control, it did scare me for a while, actually. And obviously it was my responsibility to do something about it. So for many years now, I've been working on this thing about reprogramming. It's very important. But if you don't know that you're programmed in the first place and that you are programmable, then you're not actually going to believe a person who tells you that, hey, you're programmed to do certain things and behave in a certain way. You'll think the guy's talking absolute nonsense, which I find, often people think, wow, Dr. Kirsten's lost his mind for sure.
Well, Dr. Kirsten, here's a message that came through just for you, and it says, let me just get it. It says that if Dr. Kirsten is 26 years old, then I wonder how or who the car doctor is.
Who the car doctor is?
Yes.
How does she mean?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
No, biologically, but I'm not going to disclose my chronological age.
So if the good doctor's car is 26 years old, or rather, say if the good doctor's car is 26 years old, I wonder who is his car doctor.
Oh, who looks after my car? Well, I do.
Okay, there you have it. 0216991786 or 0786101112. That is that is how you can be part of our conversation this morning. We're talking about consciousness, holistic intelligence, and Dr. Faiez Kirsten is the one that's in studio with me this morning. Now, Dr. Faiez, coming to how one can basically program our minds, ourselves, to be able to look beyond the obvious and to see through things that we most likely often miss.
How do we reprogram ourselves? Look, it's a process. It's really a process. It's not going to happen like overnight. You must first understand that you are being programmed. It's really important about understanding how the mind works, how the brain works. Now, you don't have to be a neuroscientist or a doctor or anything. You can find, just basically, you can learn how the brain works, the structure, the function, and so forth, and the mind. I even wrote a report on the subconscious, which people can read. It's only 40 pages, but it gives you sort of the kernel of what the subconscious mind is. Once you understand that, then you can work from there. Without understanding how the mind works, how the brain works, it's very difficult to really even start to reprogram yourself, because you won't really even believe that you can do that, or if it's possible that you are actually programmed to believe things and act in and behave in a certain way. And so it really starts with that, and it's a process. I mean, I've developed programs to help people empower themselves, reprogram themselves, tools, audios, everything, to help them. But it must come from the person themselves. They must have this intention, and they must be willing to invest the time and the effort, even if it's just an hour a day to work on yourself. Cancel TV for an hour and work on yourself for an hour,
But Dr. Faiez, I'm always thinking that as much as we say that we don't mind sticking out like a sore thumb or whatever, we always want to be part of something, or we want to be included in what everyone else is doing. So doesn't it also become very challenging for someone who decides to step out of that kind of system, and I'm sure you'd be able to relate to this.
Yeah, you're like the odd man out, which is really difficult. A lot of people don't want to be the odd man out because you feel safer in a group. It's safer there. You feel secure. Nobody's gonna attack you. So
you just want to blend in with the rest.
You're in your comfort zone. And the brain wants you to be in your comfort zone. The minute you start thinking a thought that's going to take you out of your comfort zone, your amygdala, that part of your brain which is like the alarm center, it's looking around for danger. That thought is going to trigger the amygdala, and you're going to feel, you're going to have this emotion. Nah, I don't think that's a good idea to do such a thing. It is not a good idea. So you'll think that thought, and then you will just stay in your comfort zone. That's the worst place you want to be, actually, is in your comfort zone, because that's gonna keep you in a state of disempowerment. Basically, you got to challenge your amygdala. You got to talk back to your amygdala. When your amygdala says don't do that, you say I'm gonna do it. And that's how you move ahead, basically.
Now it is 9:32. We are due for a break, and inshallah after the break we will continue. Do remember that you can be part of our conversation. 0216991786 or 0786101112. Holistic intelligence, also consciousness trifecta. Dr. Faiez Kirsten in studio with me this morning. Be part of our conversation. Stay with us.
Feel the heart. Experience the soul. Community Pulse.
25 to 10 on Radio 786, and we continue the conversation with Dr. Faiez Kirsten. Joining me live in studio this morning, and we have a few WhatsApp messages that came via 0786 10, 11, 12. And we're talking about the consciousness trifecta, also holistic intelligence. And the question, really, Dr. Faiez, is how do we ensure that we are encouraging our children to be holistically intelligent? Parents, how do they?
It starts with the parents. The parents need to understand the whole concept of holistic intelligence and what they need to, how they need to empower themselves and instill themselves first in order to interact in the right way with their children. Not only in terms of behavior, but what they tell their children, how they teach their children, and so forth. Also in schools, I don't know what they're teaching kids in schools today, what the education system is like. I do know, but it doesn't look very good. And so teachers themselves need to, understand how they are playing a role in basically disempowering humanity, even though they don't think they're doing that. The education system is designed to disempower. As I said, kids come out of school after 10, 12 years with no imagination, no imaginative ability, no creativity, creative ability. So yes, it's a process, it's an understanding. The adults need to understand the whole concept first and then instill themselves before they can actually even start to actually teach their kids, or help the kids, develop their consciousness.
But Dr. Faiez, I'm just thinking, my previous question was about how challenging it is for someone that decides to go against the system. So I'm thinking, how, if it's difficult for adults, what about children?
It's not about going against the system. It's about understanding the system, understanding the inherent evilness, diabolical nature of the system. I mean, the economic system, the way it's designed, the financial system, all the systems are designed to create inequality. And I give you some examples just now. So it's not about going against the system, but I think Buckminster Fuller said is, you shouldn't be fighting the system. You should just build a new system, which will make the old system obsolete. And now when it comes to the financial side of things, 14 years ago, we set up a trading platform outside of the system, which still operates today. But for various reasons, it hasn't taken off like Bitcoin, which is busy crashing at the moment, I think. And I always said, when banks get involved in Bitcoin, it's time to head for the hills in opposite direction. Looks like that's happening at the moment. But it's not about fighting the system. You can't really fight the system. The system is evil. It's inherently evil. It's a diabolical, satanic system. How do you fight Satan? You live in harmony with God's law. If they kill you in the process, that's what they do. I mean, this is only a temporary existence anyway. If they kill you today or they kill you in 20 years' time, you're still going to die, But you never die. I mean, our consciousness lives on, our soul lives on, and there's going to be a time where we're all going to account for our actions anyway, So it's about living not in fear, but in harmony with God's natural law.
Let's go to the lines. Assalamu alaikum, ya live. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Janabin. Doctor, how are you, doctor?
Alhamdulillah, walaikum salam, alhamdulillah, brother. How are you doing?
I won't ask Zainabin because it sounds good. Alhamdulillah. I just want to add to this discussion, doctor. We speak about, Zainabin will always ask, how do we get out of this? How do we change people's minds? They had this interview this morning about, I was quite happy to hear that they got the schooling people, the school that the school and established throughout throughout the world is trying to change the mindset of people via the schools to educate the youth. Now, in our circumstances, we are denied that opportunity where we cannot question, we cannot debate an issue because what the ulama says here, that is how it should be. And when you speak about the Sharia law, I said, no, that's Allah's law, but it's actually man's law, but some of it is taken out of the Quran, but not everything. And it's unfortunate that we are so dogmatized, I mean, look at this morning, they had the people on the other radio station, and I was so shocked to hear how our huts been commercialized. Now, for us to get out of this quagmire of social problems that we've got, is this Gulen had this great idea of changing the mindset of people. That is what it's basically boiling down to, is to change the mindset of the people who have been steeped into tradition, that has been steeped into culture, and want to hold on to that culture and that tradition without changing. And the moment you try to change it, then they brand you either as Ahmadiyya or this or that, or they make you kafir, whatever you want to do. And this is the problem that we've got. If we look at how Saudi Arabia came about, how Jordan came about, how Iraq came about, and how Iran came about, it was the imperial forces those years. Now, since those years already, they've been trying to change our mindset so that we can remain subservient.
Brother Ishmael,
the problem that we've got now in Rhodesia, in this place now, what they call it, this is now African name, this where
Zimbabwe.
This man that's been locked up now, what's his name? President Mugabe.
Okay.
This place in Zimbabwe. That was first Rhodesia, and now it's became Zimbabwe. But what I'm trying to say is, these countries were established by imperial forces that is coming to light now. Everybody's finding out about these forces. Before it was never discussed. It was talked about as a conspiracy.
Okay, Brother Ishmael.
Talked about it. It's false. It's not true. But it's actually coming to light now.
Shukran, Brother Ishmael.
People are finding out. And now what they are doing, they are saying that we are living at the end times.
Brother
That's
Ishmael.
a blatant lie.
Brother Ishmael,
There's no such a thing as the end times will come. But that's Allah Ta'ala's decision.
Shukran, Brother Ishmael. We have two callers holding, and we need to. Our time is also limited. We do get the gist of what you're trying to say. Let's go to the lines. Okay, 0216991786. You're live, and assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and your honorable guest. In fact, I would like to add what he said about knowledge. In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu he did say beautifully. He said, "The ink of a scholar is holier in the sight of Allah than the blood of a martyr." Now, what does that mean? Then there's a beautiful saying as well that says, "Al-ilmu nur." Knowledge is actually empowerment. It is enlightenment, and jahl is dalam, is darkness. It leads you astray. Now, the problem is why people don't want to enlighten themselves, because they're going to go against the masses. They're going to go against the old opinions of the forefathers and the clergy and what they've inherited. So we should actually try to break away from that. Knowledge, there's nothing wrong with knowledge. If knowledge is based on righteousness, truth, and justice, if that is the basis, seeking knowledge, then we'll have a peaceful world. But if to seek knowledge is to have a big head and to walk around with a dark heart and try to show off that you are this person, you are that person, then that knowledge will become a curse. That's why Allah SWT beautifully says in the Quran, Allah will not leave the people or the believers in the condition that they are in until they separate the good from the rubbish. Now, how will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do this? By sending someone to enlighten the people about the true spirit and the true essence of the Holy Quran. Jazakumullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We also have a few messages that I just like to go through very quickly. One of it reads, Assalamu alaikum, brother, you said freedom of religion, that's what kids say and do. Even if the parents raise them the right way, you should hear the kids taking special of religions. Okay. Also, my son told me I was shocked. He's a chatterbox. He explained something to his teacher, and her answer replied to my 7-year-old teacher. Teacher did. I just told him not to worry. Please respond to this beautiful program. Excellent marks at school. Okay, I think that because the child is a chatterbox, the teacher said something about the teacher's dead. I'm not sure what that means. And then the mom just told him not to worry. Okay, and then we have one more saying, Assalamu alaikum. When will we realize that the measure of knowledge shows in how we behave to Allah's creation, including showing courtesy and also consideration? We also have two callers holding. If we can just very quickly go to the lines. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you?
Well, alhamdulillah, yourself?
Alhamdulillah. Doctor, it's Abdul Alim Sayyid. Yeah, how are you, Doctor?
Abdul Alim, wa alaikum salam. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah. As usual, your programs are very interesting.
Shukran.
I just wanted to add something to what you were discussing. I think it's important that we also act. We take some action. And, people, we know a lot of things. We have a lot of knowledge. But really, do we actually put it into action? So I just want to say that we need to make a move. Whether it's a small move, we need to do something. And I know we've already been doing something. What you're talking about, Doc.
Yes.
But we need to get more people to do a little bit more, and that'll change. It'll make a big wave eventually. Thank you so much for your excellent program, and we'll chat soon.
Shukran.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes. No, the brothers have given us some very important input there. Abdul Alim is right. Action is important. Actually, wisdom is knowledge put into action. That's what wisdom is. And in fact, humanity needs to become wise. We need to become wise.
To wisen up.
Wisen up. We need to wisen up as a human global population. You know, that is wisdom. Wisdom is actually putting knowledge, relevant, right knowledge, into action. So very good point there, Abdul Alim. Thank you for that. Shukran. Dogma, coming back to what Ismail said, you know, dogma is just blind belief without any evidence. You're just believing something because your father told you that, or your grandfather or your leader told you that you must believe that, and so you believe it without actually critically thinking about what you are believing. And that's why the Quran is so strong on thinking. You know, we always reminded and in fact instructed to think critically, you know, about things. And if you're not thinking critically, you know, then you're going to be part of a cultural religion rather than a way of life, you know, which you basically should be. And we need to get back to a way of life, a way of thinking, and striving all the time to raise our consciousness trifecta, becoming holistically intelligent. Yes. I just want to make one more point, you know, in terms of the systems that these people have designed for us. It's so unequal, unjust. 3 people in the United States own more wealth than 160 million. The bottom half of the population of America, 160 million people, are poorer than just 3 people: Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon.
Sure.
And if you look at globally, 62 people or 60 people own more wealth than the bottom half of humanity, which is about 3.5 billion people. 3.5 billion people are poorer than 62 people. So if that is not satanic, you know, and diabolical and whatever evil, whatever words you want to use, and unjust, unequal, unfair, if people don't actually see the unfairness, you know, the inequality in the way the systems are designed, then I don't know if anything will actually help them see through this deception and this evil, basically. Yeah.
Okay, going back to our WhatsApp line on 0786 10 11 12. Also a reminder that this is Radio 786 on 100.4 FM, and the first hour of Community Pulse this morning looks at the consciousness trifecta, also holistic intelligence. Dr. Faiez is in studio with me to discuss this. One of it reads, Assalamu alaikum, does affirmations really work in the subconscious mind? Great program. Salam, you are what you think. Is that what the mind energy puts out to the universe?
Yeah, that's the law of mentalism. You know, what you think, you basically end up creating. So how I'm sitting here today is a result of thoughts over the years, you know. I gave a talk at the madrasa event the other day, and I said, you know, this event is only a reality because somebody thought about it, and Alima must have been the one who thought about it. So what you think, that's the law of mentalism. It's a natural law. The Quran is very strong on thinking. That's what the Quran tells you to think, and to think properly, to think the right thoughts. You know, otherwise, if you think the wrong thoughts, you'll also create the wrong things. You know. So that is right. That is right. You know, what you think you end up creating what you think.
Okay, you're live in air. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam.
Yeah, I'd like to just commend the doctor. You know, we should all be thankful for having such an intelligent person, you know, giving his views. And if you just add, you know, not so long ago, we had Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, criticizing the West, and it wasn't long, and they threatened him. And I'd like to also say, you know, the doctor's views on the Illuminati is exactly the same as David Icke, you know, a man that has done so much research on the Illuminati. And I'd just like to shukran to the doctor.
Afwan.
Shukran wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yeah, look, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, they had actually a huge conference in Malaysia a few years ago on the New World Order. That was very interesting. It should be on YouTube, I would imagine. Very, very interesting conference. Dr. Mahathir actually spoke there, and they're very aware of what is going on, obviously, you know. But as I said, we have something called epipolitics, where politicians, the political process is controlled by forces above the politicians and governments. They're basically the puppets, and you have the puppet master. And so we must understand this idea of epipolitics, which I realized was happening when I studied epigenetics, and then I studied the politics, the global system. I reckon this is like epipolitics, So we need to understand that, yeah.
Way forward, Dr. Faiez. What is the way forward? When you talk consistently about things that are messed up or corrupt, you don't want to feel like there's no hope. You want to really feel that I'm glad I have this information, and this is what I'm going to do next. So what is that, Dr. Faiez?
I don't want to, be too dystopian and say, there's no hope, We always have to strive. I mean, only Allah knows what His final plan is, But we have to strive. If you see evil, you got to challenge it, Whatever the outcome is, you've got to challenge it. So we've got to take steps every day to improve ourselves, raise our level of consciousness, participate in whatever, you're going to participate in. It's going to make you a better person and make you see through the deception. This is very critical. I mean, people sometimes look at me and say, what are you talking about? You have to be able to see through the deception. Otherwise, you are deceived. If you don't see through the deception, you are deceived. And so you got to strive to understand what is this deception all about. And once you see beyond the obvious, wow, you just see things in a completely different light. And that's really what you need to do every day. Whatever you do, whether you're reading or programming yourself, listening to audios, and it's going to put in affirmations, like the person who actually sent in a message there. Affirmations work. My audios contain affirmations. It comes to health and wellness. Absolutely. I hold beliefs about health and wellness which are affirmed through my audios largely, and also using EFT and so forth. So there's things you have to do every day to raise our level of consciousness. And as a global community, if we reach a tipping point, we can turn things around. But you can't stop trying. If you stop trying, then you're already dead in the water. You must know that you're in a war in order to win the war. So the first thing you must realize is that you're in a war. And then you start basically
winning that war.
You basically start strategizing on how you're going to basically do to win this war. That's what you do.
We were having quite an interesting conversation yesterday about how when certain things happen to us, we tend to feel like there's no hope, or when we face with challenges or adversity. But I actually thought of it, and I thought, because I met this young man, and he's been through a lot, and he basically took what he went through and he turned it into a positive, and he became better than what he was before he had the accident. So I was thinking that very often we don't realize that what we may see or look at as a calamity or adversity, it's actually a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we must be able to also recognize things like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Reframing your thinking, from having a lot of automatic negative thoughts to positive thoughts, looking at things in a different light will actually change your life without a doubt.
Definitely. We have a caller holding, and we also have a message. So let's first take the caller. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam to your guest.
Wa alaikum salam.
Great, alhamdulillah. Oh, the first thing is, you must give the site where you can get more information. Your site.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would just like to say, you can agree with me or disagree with me. I mean, we are Muslims. We are supposed to be thinking human beings. Okay? As you said, according to the Quran. But I would just like to say, this was a comment on, but okay, I just want to Al-Zariyah, Surah 45, verse 7 and 8. Woe to every cursor, woe to every sinful liar who hears the ayatullah of Allah being recited to him and persists proudly as though he has not heard them. So announce to him a painful punishment. Then we have a hadith which blends with the Quran. We should only hadith that blends with the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ said, Rubba qari ila al-Quran wal Quranu yal'anu. You may have a person who is reading the Quran. I mean, I'm putting in melodiously, but the Quran is condemning him. I would just like to ask the guest, our masjids are no longer the masjids of Allah. Why do I say so? Is because according to the Quranic ayat and the life of the Prophet and the four Khulafa, they were open to debate. They were open to discussion. There was accountability. but there's no accountability now. What
Okay.
should we do? Because, I mean, I've spoken about this, but we should hold, as you said, we should hold our leaders accountable. But they don't want to be accountable. But we are the people, and they must be obedient, not to us, but they must be obedient to the Quran and the Sunnah.
Okay, shukran for the...
But we should really, just hang on, but we should revisit the Hadith. In other words, we should filter the Hadith
Okay.
only acceptable to the Quran.
Shukran
Okay.
so much. Shukran so much for your contribution. Our time is limited, and I just want to read this final WhatsApp that came through. The system is designed to keep the rich and the poor, so the middle class have the dangling carrot to reach for that they will never attain. The poor at the bottom, so the middle class also have a baseline that they would never want to get to. So we end up working ourselves to the bone for something we'll never achieve.
That's a very good point. Very, very good point. That is why we have to create alternative systems, because the system is designed to do exactly that. Very good point. Thank you for that. Shukran. That was a really good point.
Dr. Faiez, we will have to leave it on that note. I don't know if you want to just finally comment on the last caller. Yes.
Yeah, accountability is everything. I mean, that is key. I mean, you can't just do something without being accountable. Take, for example, your Reserve Bank. I mean, these people run the economy, the interest rates, the money supply, the value of the currency. And nobody voted them into power. Nobody put them there, and they have no accountability to the people. But they're controlling your entire economy, which is, which your life basically revolves around. So accountability is basically key. And unless we basically hold our leaders accountable, we just basically deserve what we have. I was hoping to talk about autoimmune diseases today, quite honestly, Zainab. We never got to that.
Inshallah, in our next discussion. Inshallah. Shukran so much for your time and insights, and may we all take heed. It's 2 minutes to 10, and we'll take a very, very short break, and then Shanaz Mohammed has the latest news. Stay tuned.